hardest part about discussing a true crime case is the fact that you ultimately want to spend the entirety of your time speaking about the victim or victims, depending on which case you're talking about. Especially when it comes down to the victim being a beautiful 10-year-old young lady, grown in life, special in the hearts of so many, and just ultimately full of life and excitement. Whole future before them. Liliana, Lily Peters. Horrifically bad case out of Wisconsin. It's just unbelievable. It's unfathomable. And I want to spend the entirety of my time just focused in on the young lady. But unfortunately, there's another young man that has to be talked about because it is his actions, thoughts, emotions, the entirety of his being that has put the entire reason why we're even here talking about Lily in the first place. I'm ARHayes. This is a Convict's Thoughts. And when you really focus in and you look at Carson, the 14-year-old young man who committed the horrific crime of not only taking beautiful Lily's life, but even more so, disrespecting her entire being, and her body after the fact, and then to come out with the gut-wrenching and the heart-shredding and the worst fathomable comment when he spoke to the authorities, accepting full blame for the actual crime, that he had planned it. Not even just right then, not even just the day that it happened, but before that, he had already threatened to do it. So now as we await a young man that committed a horrifically bad crime at the age of 14 to a 10-year-old family member, we've got to, for a moment, put a pause on what we really want to think about and talk about, which is the beauty of Lily. And we also had to put the pause for a moment on the whole entirety of the idea of a minor being charged as an adult and all of the different aspects of the case. But we have to hit the pause button for a moment. And we need to focus in on what truly, possibly, in my opinion, let me get that out there because some people may disagree with me. But I'm going to give you some factual ideas that back my opinion, based off my own experiences, that could possibly have pushed this 14-year-old young man, Carson, into committing the crime that he did. And I'm not even going to refer to this, as I've done videos in regards to a triggered act and a taught and learned act. And when I say act, I mean the committing of a crime. For me to be able to set the stage I have to talk about an individual that at the end of the day makes me so sick to my stomach and angry that it's taken me days to be able to accomplish this video. I know. YouTube content creators are supposed to be built to steal. They got cold hearts. They can talk about anything and everything at any given point because that's what it's all about. It's talking true crime. This isn't that same scenario, ladies and gentlemen. Not for me. Not from my background. Not from the people that I've intertwined myself with throughout my lifetime. And not to my core beliefs. I have a direct family member that now I consider to be a part of my family through the discussions that we have, the heartfelt emotions that we discuss and share with each other. And we've built a trust that is far larger on my actual spectrum of why I do this channel, that means more to me than anything else out there. That I am so thankful that I've been able to come in contact with this individual, even though it's surrounding such a horrifically bad case as this one. I hope we get to spend the next years upon years of our life laughing and enjoying the great moments, holding hands, being there for each other in the hard moments, doing what family actually does for each other, and that is support each other. And I'm so appreciative that she's entrusted me to speak in regards to this case and bring my little bit of spin to it. And I believe when she made the statement that she is fully understanding that the majority of the discussion that will and has happened in regards to this case is going to be disgusting, disrespectful, hard to endure, hard to think about, hard to talk about, hard to accept. But at the end of the day, you have to open up that can and let some of this negativity out just to get a better understanding. So the hardest part for me is to be able to engage myself in the discussion of Carson's father, who, in my opinion, is the teacher and the guider of the 14-year-old young man who at a much younger age was engaged with his father. And I don't know the full details of what could have possibly happened within that relationship. But what I do know is what his father overall as a man was. And I say was for a certain reason that I'll state later in this video. But Adam was not a very old individual when, we had Carson as a son. And it sounds like they had an engaging relationship as a father and son. And I don't know to the extent of how close that relationship was. But what I do need to do is for a moment separate everybody from the idea that this conversation that we're about ready to have is about a loving father and his great son that just somehow fell off the path and it became a disastrous situation leading to the young man killing another family member. We do know at times things like that happen within families where siblings take the life of another sibling. A sibling takes the life of one of their parents. A sibling takes the life of their grandparent. Family occurrences in crime happen all the time. But what sets this crime apart from all of it is not the homicide part of the crime. It's the degrading of the young lady after the fact, and then the non remorseful nature of returning to the scene when it's known that Lily is being searched for and been deemed as missing to move the body. But at the end of the day, never redress it. Never to hide the innocence or the purity of the young lady, or even try to cover the secondary aspect of the crime, which was, unfortunately, SB, sexual abuse. None of that was trying to be hidden. And now we got to bring the father, Adam Berger, into the mix, who at a very young age for Carson was arrested, charged, and found guilty of very disgusting crimes. Disgusting, disrespectful. In my opinion, it deems narcissistic. It deems egotistical. It hits every check mark that if this man had actually been able to continue his path for longer in life than the short period he had, there could have been way more damage done than actually what was. But at the end of the day, we don't even know fully to what extent the damage that Adam caused was. So I have to separate the fact that in my mind and in my just raging heart, I feel like there's so much pain and hurt that this man caused, not only just within his son, but I believe, well, I guess I have to talk about it. I really, God, I just hate it. He was charged with 10 counts. 10 counts. He had photographs of young ladies about the age of Lily in very compromising sexual positions. Now, one of my biggest fights in life that I've always had to try to express myself in a public way, respectfully, calmly, to where people can kind of understand the emotion that I have behind it and how I feel about it without getting outside the lines or overboard. I do not ever accept anything abuse-wise, not only of women, but even more so young individuals in life and children. I don't believe in all the things that happen within the sexual nature that is abusive or aggressive to the point that it could be life-shattering for the victims that it happens to. I don't believe in pornography. I don't believe in a lot of these things. Now, I am a normal human being, so I do understand some of it in life. I just personally don't like it. Now, people like Adam that have underaged victims, I have an even more heartfelt anger and even a side of me that could become outside the box violent towards. And that stems back to me serving time, even more so in the penitentiary, because it is a green light on site, no questions asked, you better handle that. And I fully agreed with it. I do understand that Adam is someone's son, someone's grandson, and I do understand all of the people out there that have the feeling that violence doesn't solve anything, and I absolutely adore and respect you. I just don't agree when it comes to these types of scenarios. Do not hurt children, do not hurt women, do not hurt a grandmother, but just do not take advantage of an individual by bullying them or narcissistically or egotistically overrunning the kindness of their hearts. Do not take their innocence. Do not change the pure nature in which they are living their life. Now, this man's 10 charges of the sickening crimes that he had could carry the weight of what they claim to be 100 years in the penitentiary. Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen, and this is something that I'm very, very vocal about expressing the need for change and the knowledge upon. He got 3 years. 3. I had a good friend that forged a $22 check so he could buy some groceries for his little family that he was struggling to support. They got 7.5 years in the penitentiary. 7.5 years. And nobody actually even lost any money in the transaction. He got caught doing it. And nobody lost any money. And he still got double the amount of time than this individual that who knows outside of the pictures what he had done outside of that. But you also have to remember, even if that's his initial stage of doing what he was doing, do you think he was going to stop in the future? Do you think this man wasn't going to hurt more down the road? Do you know that these pedophiles and these people charged with these types of crimes, that we give such short, minimal sentence in the penitentiary to come back out and continuously do it again? Could be your loved one, could be your child, could be mine. But now you have to stop, you have to think. Think about what Carson did as a 14-year-old with zero emotion or remorse to a 10-year-old female family member and compare it to what his father was, and then listen to the fight and the push of the father about how close he was to his son, how he was the actual happiness in his son's life, not his mother. Nobody else ever made Carson lift his head and act or show happiness in life outside of his father, in his father Adam's words. Now, obviously, this is video 2 of what's going to become a series, so I will get to his mother in video 3. But right now, we have to focus on what I call the teaching and the lessons that Carson learned from his father Adam. Whether people want to agree with that or not, it's the truth. I lost all trust as a young man. when I was born to a mother that didn't want me. She wanted the narcotics and the lifestyle more than she wanted me. So I became the abused and the outcasted to the point that the state had to take me away and put me into foster care for years. Not days, not a year, not a short time frame. It was years upon years. Then later in life to come to find out, my sister, who was born just a year after me to the very same mother, different father, was taken away again by the state and put into a different foster care for abuse. They were putting cigarettes out on her chest and doing other horrific abuseful things to her. My sister and I both grew up with trust issues and other things that we had learned early in life that built us into kind of the people that we were going to later become. I became very distant, very quiet. I was a liar. I became a criminal. I became a thief. I did many of things. My sister, on the other end of the spectrum, took upon many of the habits that her mother had. The drug addictions, the different lifestyles that my mother lived, she tended to live. So some of it was learned. And I have a gut feeling when you look at the Lily Peters case and you pull the whole aspect aside of the suspect, the person who committed this crime, Carson, no remorse, no thought process into why he should never have done it, only shows that his father's love, so-called, and obvious attachment to the son built a connection that his son was very capable of the very things his father started. It's sad to think about that we, as children, even when in a separated mold, taken away by birth or away through the penitentiary, can still gravitate to take certain things from people as a learning lesson and utilize them later in life. It's, of my opinion, Carson built an actual hatred within him for young females around Lily's age or around the age of the young females in the pictures that his father was arrested and sentenced to prison for. Lily just happened to fit the mold, and even more so, just happened to be a close enough family member that Carson could make the plan and later successfully fulfill it. It's disgusting, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the tail end result of that is Adam Berger, the father, got released from the penitentiary. The funny thing about it is he never got released, most likely, from the guilt that endured in him of seeing what his son did. And that pushed him to take his own life. Adam is no longer with us for a reason. And maybe that's not a horrifically bad thing, because a few more people just might live a little more safely. Hard story to talk about. This is video 2. More to come. Please stay with me. It's a hard case. It's a gut-wrenching case. I need your support, and I hope I can discuss things with you that opens your eyes and many others to how we could resolve these types of crimes before they happen. May ARHayes. Convict's thoughts. Have a great night.